On a snowy evening in January 2005, the small city of Wichita, Kansas, was peaceful. People were returning home after a long day of work. But for the Otero family, who lived on the edge of the city, that night would be the last peaceful night of their lives. A man named Dennis Rader had spent years appearing to be an ordinary, respectable citizen. He was active in his church, had a family, and greeted his neighbors with a friendly smile. But hidden behind that ordinary life was a terrifying secret. Years earlier, he had committed a series of brutal murders. After each killing, he sent mysterious letters to the police and gave himself the name BTK: Bind, Torture, Kill. Then, without warning, he disappeared. 1 decade passed, then another, and nearly 30 years went by. Most people believed the serial killer had either died or stopped forever. But in 2005, the nightmare suddenly returned. One morning, a local news station received a mysterious package. Inside was a doll with its hands and feet tied together with rope. Along with it was a letter claiming that the sender was BTK, the serial killer the police had failed to catch for decades. Fear spread throughout the city. People realized that the killer had returned. The police immediately reopened the old investigation. Every piece of evidence from the decades-old murders was reviewed once again. But finding new clues in such old cases was extremely difficult. Meanwhile, BTK seemed to be playing a twisted game with investigators. He continued sending letters to both the media and the police. Each letter contained riddles, details about the old murders, and mocking messages aimed at law enforcement. Detectives soon realized that the killer was incredibly arrogant about his intelligence. He wanted everyone to know that he was still one step ahead of the police. That arrogance, they believed, might eventually become his greatest mistake. One day, BTK asked the police, in one of his letters, whether they could identify him if he mailed them a floppy disk. Through the media, the police publicly replied, "No, absolutely not." In reality, it was a carefully planned trap. A few days later, a purple floppy disk arrived at the police department. At first glance, it looked completely ordinary. However, digital forensic experts examined it with extreme care. At first, they found nothing useful. But after a deeper analysis, they recovered hidden metadata that had remained on the disk. The deleted information revealed the name of a church and a user account with the name Dennis. Detectives immediately obtained the church's membership records. One name quickly caught their attention: Dennis Rader. As they dug deeper, they discovered that he had lived for years in the same area where the original murders had taken place. They also learned that he had previously worked in home security, giving him extensive knowledge of how to enter houses and avoid being detected. However, suspicion alone was not enough for an arrest. Investigators secretly placed Dennis Rader under surveillance. One day, they collected DNA from saliva left on a cup he had discarded. At the same time, they re-examined the DNA evidence preserved from the original crime scenes. When the laboratory results arrived, the investigators were stunned. The DNA samples matched. After nearly 30 years, the man who had terrorized the city was finally exposed. On the morning of February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader was driving his car when several police vehicles suddenly surrounded him. Officers pointed their weapons and ordered him to step out of the vehicle. At first, he appeared confused. Then, one detective calmly said, "Dennis, it's over." Rader remained silent for a few seconds before slowly lowering his head. His decades of hiding had come to an end. During questioning, he remained astonishingly calm, almost as if he were simply telling the story of his own life. One by one, he confessed to murdering 10 innocent people. He described each crime in disturbing detail, without showing any sign of remorse. Investigators were shocked to see how someone who appeared so ordinary on the outside could be so cold and ruthless within. When the trial began, the entire nation watched the case closely. Family members of the victims sat inside the courtroom. Many of them had spent years searching for the answer to one question: why? But Dennis Rader had no human explanation to offer. He simply described what he had done, showing no regret. In the end, the court found him guilty of 10 murders. Because the death penalty was not available in his case, he was sentenced to multiple consecutive life sentences, ensuring that he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. This case was not only the story of capturing a serial killer. It proved that no matter how clever a criminal may be, sometimes it is their own arrogance that leads to their downfall. The man who believed that an ordinary floppy disk could never expose him ultimately saw that very disk reveal the secret identity he had hidden for nearly 30 years. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing true stories.